Good morning, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Coffee and Something Stronger. My name is Codi and Don, Executive Director of Georgia Interfaith Power and Light. Coffee and Something Stronger is a coffee chat style interview show where we sit down with practitioners, faith leaders, and academics to talk at the intersections of climate, faith, and justice. And this morning, we are doing a special edition to feature the Solarize campaigns that are happening in both Atlanta and Savannah. And this morning we have on a good friend of Gipple and a good friend of the solar industry in Georgia, Don Moreland of Solar CrowdSource. Don, thanks for being on this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about how you briefly got into this work and what brings you to Solarize campaigns now.
Okay. I am an attorney by trade, and I did a lot of real estate development, back in the early 2000s, and had a great time doing it. Learned a lot on how to develop property from raw land all the way to, say, a mixed use development. And then the bubble burst in the real estate industry. So I had a chance to kind of make some decisions and pivot, as they say. And I've always been a environmentalist at heart. So I thought this is a great time to do something you really want to do, and went into the solar industry and started developing large scale utility projects. So that transition of the real estate legal side transitioned well into developing those types of projects, and did that for a while and realized that that's not the part of the solar industry that I wanted to be in. I wanted to be more in kind of the grassroots and distributed generation side. So like this show that comes into a transition, I saw the transition, or really the intersection of energy and a chance to be part of the democratization of energy, because the cost of solar had come down so low, and it was now viable for everybody, instead of just super rich people. So yeah. To that end, I was looking around and saw the success with group purchasing programs that have become known as Solarize programs, and kind of looked at the market and picked a way to kind of get in there to try to add value to make solar more affordable and accessible than it would have otherwise been.
No, that's awesome. Solar for the people, something we'll be talking about this morning.
That's right. Oh, good.
So Don, I think you're being a good sport and brought a reading or some quotes, and I'll ask you to offer them now.
All right, I did. I have three short ones, so just bear with me for a second. And I'm trying to filibuster the rest of this program, so I'm going to. The first one is by Vandana Shiva. She's a Indian activist, for social activist and environmental activist. And this one really rings true to me. The environmental movement can only survive if it becomes a justice movement. As a pure environmental movement, it will either die or it will survive as corporate greenwash. Mm. Anyone who's a sincere environmentalist can't stand that role. And to me, that rings true a lot. If you're going to ask me, what does that mean to me?
Yeah.
I just thought I'd go ahead and give you my interpretation.
Sure.
It's kind of true. The environmental lane for justice or for climate change is a narrow one. And although it's probably helped bring the spotlight on climate change and energy justice, I think she's absolutely right. We have to have a deeper, more meaningful role in society, and I just feel like we're at this inflection point where we have an opportunity to make a transition in a completely different way, where everybody can benefit and nobody is losing.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so the second one, I was struggling to find something today, and I was talking to my 15-year-old kid who every now and then becomes interested in what his old man is doing. And he's like, oh, I'll just write something. Yeah, I guess he had something on the top of his head that he wanted to share. So I thought it would be fun to share this, and I'll let you go ahead and interpret it, and not let me. But this world was made to support life in all forms, from the highest skies to the deepest depths. Today, that purpose is under siege. Humanity's perfect world is not one that allows Earth's purpose to be fulfilled. As the ones to achieve sentience and civilization, it is humanity's duty to protect and conserve this planet and the life that it holds. He just came up with that on the top of his head. So maybe all the work we're doing does have an influence on others, Cody. Who knows?
Absolutely.
And then the last one, since you're letting me have three, the last one is one that I use all the time. It's actually, it's on the Solarize Atlanta website, because we have a little section in there about the just transition, and always had an inspiration from Margaret Mead. And you've heard this before. You could probably recite it word for word. Everybody together. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And in this industry, that rings true for me, and it helps me. It motivates me. It actually does, because I've seen it in action. I've seen a small group of individuals make a big difference, and it's really fun to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for offering those quotes. And really, what we're going to talk about this morning, Solarize programs, is about communities coming together to make a difference and taking control of their own energy choices. And so as we start, Don, why don't you tell us a little bit, start from square one. What is a Solarize campaign?
Solarize program is a group purchasing program at its essence. It's when we try to get as many people to go in on the cost of solar together and get volume discounts on installations and materials. And there's different kinds of group purchasing programs out there, but our model is a community-based group purchasing program where there be a group of like-minded community members. It's usually a public-private partnership of some sort that comes together and decides we want to try to make solar more affordable and more accessible for the folks in this community. So Solar CrowdSource is a platform, and it offers a lot of tools and resources to get communities going on Solarize programs sooner than later, because we do not charge. We are for profit, and I actually embrace the for-profit aspect of Solar CrowdSource, and I'll tell you why in a second. But once we get the group of community members together, then we can issue a request for proposal, and we get competitive bids, and we are then able. We've already selected the contractor. We know what the materials are. We know what the pricing is going to be. So we've eliminated that aspect of going solar, which can be quite intimidating if you don't know. If you're not in the industry and you don't know what a good price is, you don't know what a good material is, and what the warranties are and things. So we try to make it more accessible and more affordable through the group purchase, and at no cost to the community. And it's really a market-based solution to a problem where a lot of communities want to run Solarize programs. They want to make clean, renewable energy more accessible, but they don't either have the resources or the expertise, and it can cost a lot of money to start one of these programs from scratch. So hopefully we got a good thing going, and we'll do more communities in the future.
Yeah, it's a great program. How many Solarize campaigns have been done in Georgia, Don, you've been a part of?
In Georgia, we have done 11 so far. Yeah. All in all, we've done 14. We started to get a little bit outside of Georgia And that has been fun as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, this is these campaigns are kind of one of the cheapest and most reliable ways for communities, homeowners, business owners to get into solar and to get those investments on their rooftops. And this only happens, toot our own horn a little bit, this only happens because of this for-profit, nonprofit partnership, this community partnership. And Georgia Interfaith Power and Light has been a partner in a lot of these campaigns, and happy to be partners on Solarize Atlanta 2.0 and Solarize Savannah. But could you talk a little bit about the other partners and just how robust of a community it is that comes together to make these programs possible?
I guess I can start with Atlanta. We did an Atlanta program that Gipple was a part of a few years ago, and it was actually ended in 2018, if you can believe that. It doesn't seem like that much time had gone by. So this is a 2.0 version, and it is very small, but hopefully an important part of the city of Atlanta's goals to go 100% clean energy by 2035, I believe. They have a very aggressive goal, and Solarize programs can, because these goals are not just for the city to go on clean energy by that time. It's for the entire city, businesses, homeowners, and really, again, bring that community together and achieve that goal. Yeah. And so we're proud to be back for the second one. We do have a few additional partners this go around that we didn't last time. Of course, Environment Georgia, and we would be remiss to just kind of gloss over them, because Environment Georgia has been really with us this whole time, right, Cody? I mean, Jeanette Gayer was there to support the very first Solarize program that we did in Athens back in 2015, and she's right there working with us on Atlanta 2.0. So Environment Georgia, the West Atlanta Watershed Alliance, of course, Gipple, the Sierra Club Georgia chapter, Partnership for Southern Equity, and IECA Solutions. So we have a great mix in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you want to speak to the Savannah partners as well?
Sure. Now there are
similar list.
Yeah, there are a lot of the same partners, but we should also say, and all this is in support of the City of Atlanta's Sustainability Office, and the same is true in Savannah. We have support from their Sustainability Office, but also Climate Reality Project in Savannah, the Harambe House Center for Sustainable Coast, the Okeechee Riverkeeper, and then of course the folks that have really been with us for a long time: Sierra Club Georgia chapter, Environment Georgia, and Georgia Interfaith Power and Light. So it's a very strong group of organizations.
Well, it's very fun to work with these organizations and very fun to be back at Solarize campaigns. Again, if you're watching this video, please click the link at the top of this video. You can sign up for this program, get a free consultation right now if you're in the city of Atlanta or the city of Savannah. And I was going to ask you, Don, in these campaigns, why is right now the time for people to sign up for a Solarize program? All the time we hear kind of, is right now the right time for solar? Should I wait 5 years? Maybe the materials will be a little bit better. Maybe it'll be a little bit cheaper. Should I wait? Should I do it now? And why should people sign up right now? Why is now a good time to go solar?
Well, there's a couple state and federal policies that come into play there. One reason is there's no time like the present. I mean, the longer you hold off going solar, the less you're going to enjoy the benefits of clean renewable energy and save on your electricity bill. And just having the peace of mind of knowing every time the sun is shining that you are generating your own energy and doing it in a clean and renewable way. It's just a really wonderful kind of feeling. But in addition to that, there is a federal tax credit that is available through the end of 2022 at 26% dollar for dollar tax credit. And then after that, it phases out to 22% the following year, and then eventually to 0%. So if you're interested in capitalizing on that tax credit, now would be the time, because the time frame for both Atlanta and Savannah Solarize campaigns are a lot of the outreach and education events we're working on now to get as many people signed up as possible, and installations will go into 2022 depending on the volume of folks that we get signed up. So and this program will not last forever. It will there is a time frame. We one of the kind of important parts of a Solarize program is having a deadline. It tends to motivate people, kind of get them off the fence, and when they know that these volume discounts are going to go away, and having the support of the community rather than going it alone with some other company that you're not really familiar with, then people want to get in on that before it goes away. There's also some policies in Georgia that are currently exist and will probably, hopefully, be renewed real soon, and that is called monthly netting. The PSC had put a pilot program together at the end of the 2019 rate case, where the compensation for energy generated from customers of Georgia Power would essentially be compensated at the retail rate on a monthly basis. So I don't want to get in too far into the weeds on how all that works, but that's a program that is available now, and it is approaching its caps. There's caps on this program, but I know folks like Gipple and I'm also affiliated with the Georgia Solar Energy Association are working real hard to find a solution to get that pilot program back on track.
Absolutely. I think no time like the present is something that you said about sort of investing in clean and renewable energy. Begin to recoup that investment on your own home. Take stock of energy independence. Solar is a great hedge against rising utility rates. We've got a Georgia Power rate case and IRP next year where we know that rates are going to go up again, and solar is a great way to save your family and your community resources by being a hedge against those utility rates. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about solar, rooftop solar in particular, for individuals and for businesses as a key climate solution for Georgia, especially. Several universities with the funding from the Ray C. Anderson Foundation came together and produced the Drawdown Georgia project. And, rooftop solar is one of the top 20 high impact climate solutions that could help us decrease emissions by 50% by 2030. So it's a really important way and a practical way for communities, individuals, households to come together to really invest community investments in community climate solutions.
Everything you said is exactly right. And one way I try to sum it up for folks is, if I told you that the cost of solar has come down so far over the last, 90% over the last 10 to 12 years, and now for the first time in ever, you have an opportunity to use your own property to generate your own electricity and do so in a clean, sustainable way, save money, increase your property values, and kind of, fulfill any renewable energy or sustainability goals that you might have, and do it for cheaper than what you were getting the energy from the utility. It really, I think, starts, people start to figure out that this is not just a fad, that this is something that is going to be here for a long time, and it's time to get in on it now.
Absolutely. There are a couple more questions that I wanted to ask you, and one that I wanted to do is to zoom out a little bit, because we talk a lot on this show about local solutions and state solutions, of which rooftop solar is one. But if we zoom out to the federal level and think about, the infrastructure package and kind of the prioritization of clean and renewable energy, and especially distributed generation, rooftop solar, how do you see the landscape changing around the country and around the state as more and more utilities, more and more individuals, businesses, governments make these clean energy commitments?
We're in the middle of the transition now, and it's predicted to accelerate. Again, as cost of solar comes down, and battery storage, which is a great complementing technology for solar, the costs continue to come down. I think, you're going to see, again, I hate to use the term again, but an inflection point where um, it's going to be very difficult for utilities to compete with these clean, renewable, distributed technologies. It's diametrically opposed to the current model with utilities, which is very large plants generating a ton of electricity and moving those electrons down very long distance transmission and distribution lines. That model is being disrupted right now, and I think that's going to continue. And it's going to, I think it's going to get to the point where it flip-flops. So right now, when you talk about the Public Service Commission and the IRP and the rate case, solar is always kind of discussed as an additional item. So it's all about, how do we, when you're looking at the amount of generation that you need to generate looking forward, it's always, well, how much of these fossil fuel resources do we need, or nuclear resources do we need? And then, how much solar can we allow in there to kind of, fill in some gaps or something? But I think as solar becomes cheaper and this transition accelerates, it's going to be quite the opposite. You're going to see the demand side become the supply side, and the IRP and is going to, the whole proceeding could possibly flip on its head to where they're looking at how much energy is being exported onto the grid, and then have to deal with the supply side issues as a result of the free market demand that's already happening. So it's going to be, and of course there's a lot of interests that are disrupted in that process as well. So it's going to be a very interesting, probably at times sometimes difficult transition, but one that I feel very strongly is inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, the clean energy revolution is here. We're a part of it. We're seeing those ripples happen now. You mentioned battery technology, and something that we've talked about on the show a lot is community resiliency, especially for communities on the coast in Savannah, battery technology, but even here in Atlanta, where storms can knock down tons of trees and, people can be out of power for a while. I wonder if you could talk about how solar and battery technology is also a resiliency strategy.
Technology with batteries these days is phenomenal. It is no longer just considered a backup, emergency backup source of power. You can program these things. You can store energy during the day and use it at night. You can be on different rate plans that charge different rates at different times of the day, depending on how expensive energy is at that time. And you can use your battery and program it in a way to save even more money than you otherwise could. So we're seeing in addition to resilience as an emergency backup, it's also resilience in a way of reducing your electricity bill and becoming more independent, and even reducing energy burdens. So we do have a program, not in Georgia. It's in St. Thomas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we have a program where we are steeply discounting the cost of solar plus storage systems, because the brownouts down there are so frequent, and of course they they get more storms down there. So resilience is a very large part of it. But even here in Georgia, you mentioned the storms, but we're also seeing a increase of severe climate. Whether it be dry conditions or wet conditions, we're just seeing more extreme weather events. And like what we saw in Texas during the winter last year, or even with the fires that are happening on the West Coast and in the Northwest area. There's just I think going to be an increasing demand for energy storage because of the resilience issue, let alone, there's always the threat of cyber attacks that are and we see people get batteries for all kinds of different reasons. And, that's certainly one of them that we're seeing a lot more of.
That's great. Well, Don, thank you for coming on and talking a little bit about these programs. Again, everybody, you can sign up in the link to this video, get on the list, go ahead and get your free assessment and see if solar is the right solution for you. But just to walk us through it, Don, how does a person do this? They sign up online for an assessment. What happens from the moment a person signs up to the moment that they get solar on their rooftop?
They hit the submit button on the form, and they'll get an automatic email confirmation that they have qualified for the discount pricing, and they'll get the free evaluation. In that email, we'll have a link where you can go and schedule your initial phone consultation. So we want to talk to you on the phone after you submit the form. We know you've given us your address and some energy usage information, so we can have a really in-depth conversation about what your energy needs are. We can look at your property and see how much solar you can maybe fit in certain parts of your roof, or even on the ground. Or we've done pergolas on patios. There's all kinds of different applications that can happen. And by the end of that conversation, you're going to have a really good idea of how much it's going to cost, how much it's going to save me, and whether you want to move forward or not. And if you do, then I'm sorry, you'll, at the end of that process, you will get a proposal, a very nice proposal that has, environmental equivalency, so you can see how many trees you're saving and how many cars are being taken off the road just by your power plant on your property. It's pretty neat. But assuming you want to move forward, then they'll come out for a site visit. They need to do some measurements and look at your main distribution panel, and talk to you and go over right then with you what the final proposal would look like, and give you an opportunity to ask questions. And then there's financing options. So at that point, if you're interested in financing, there's more and more amazing financing options available all the time, and definitely through this program. So make sure you ask about that. And then you go into contract, and for a couple months we're working on getting the permitting, and we're doing all the design and engineering, and then within just a few short months you'll have solar on your roof, and you'll be generating your own clean renewable energy.
Yeah, that's great. And I don't want to get out of here without at last saying Creative Solar are the chosen installers for these programs. They do tried and true work. Russell and Seth, we've been working with them for a long time. They've been doing great work here. They're providing these great resources, the panels, all the materials. Like we said at the beginning of this, they've been vetted by community partners, by for-profit partners like Don, and they're ready. They're ready to work. They're ready to put some solar on some rooftops, and they'd love to talk to you by phone to figure out if this solution is right for you. So Don, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, please tune in next week for a new episode of the Eco Terra Chronicles with Hermina Glass-Hill. And the week after that, we'll be doing a second interview about the Solarize campaigns with Dr. Erica Holloman-Hill, and talking about some of the equity issues that happen in this state and how solar can help get at some of those and produce justice in this state. So thank you, everybody. Again, please sign up at the link above, and we can get in contact with you, and we can make some practical investments for some moral solutions to help curb the climate crisis. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.